Hello, it's Judith here with this week's video. And this week I'm going to talk about something that I don't think I've ever videoed about before, and that is the effects of working long hours and what you can do to minimise those effects, because sometimes we don't have a choice. Often we do it when we do have a choice, but sometimes we don't. So it's probably different if you're employed or self-employed. If you're employed, sometimes there are very high expectations as to how many hours you will work to get a job done because it's urgent, or being almost accessible 24/7 nowadays, which I think is another problem. So you're never really switched off because you know if an email comes in or a phone call comes in, you have to deal with it, which can be unreasonable at weekends or in evenings. But I'm sure some of you are experiencing this. If it's your own business, the tendency, of course, is to work every hour that you can when you're setting up your business. And then, you almost have to carry on to keep it going or to grow it. So although in theory you're more in control, in practice you're likely perhaps to work harder because it's either only just you or it is you in control and setting the rules, and you don't necessarily set the right ones. So it can be different depending upon your circumstances. More importantly, though, what are the effects of working long hours on your mental, emotional, and physical health? Now, the obvious one that we all recognise is stress. So the stress of lots of work to do, the stress of tight deadlines, etc., etc. And the stress can lead to or be combined with anxiety, anxiety over the success of your business, anxiety over money if it's your own business, anxiety over what your boss is thinking about you and the quality of your work, whatever, and we get to the point where we become anxious about absolutely everything if it goes on over long periods of time. So stress and anxiety definitely are an issue if you're working long hours on a regular basis. And of course, that stress and anxiety has physical effects on your cardiovascular system, which ultimately, if they carry on for years and years and years, will lead to an early death or being unable to work because you're not capable, not physically able to do so. And that stress and anxiety, while it's happening, can build. My experience when I was in the corporate world was that, there is a curve. People have a different point at which they collapse or burn out. And their efficiency decreases as the curve, you go up to the curve, and then when you get to the top, it drops. So everybody has a breaking point, everybody has a burnout point, and when you get to that point, you're little use to anybody. You are exhausted, unmotivated, just mentally and drained and physically exhausted. So burnout is a possibility if you don't manage the preceding stress and anxiety. Sleep can be another issue. If we're working long hours, we probably don't leave a good gap between stopping working and going to sleep. So sitting at desk working, then expecting you to get into bed, turn out the light and go to sleep doesn't happen. So it's quite important to have a break, but there isn't always time for that break, particularly if you're having to get up early. So it's a case of, I've got to go to bed now because I finished working and I've got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning or whenever. So your sleep schedule can be affected by the hours you're having to work. So you end up not getting enough sleep and or not getting good quality sleep because you go to bed with all the problems of your working day still going around in your mind. And this again leads to more anxiety, more stress, and often depression. You are not spending time with your family, with your friends, so this can have an effect on them, but that can also have an effect on you. You can become very isolated, disconnected, never taking the opportunity to stop, rest and recharge by doing something completely different that is going to help you recover from the effects of the stress, which we'll talk about in a minute. Not the effects, but the recovery. And then you can get to the point where your brain just stops working. You know, cognitive fatigue is the a correct term. The longer you work without breaks, either during a day or during a month or during a year, you know, not taking all your holiday or not taking any holiday at all, you know, we all have our limits. So the longer you work without breaks, the harder it is to focus and be efficient and effective. You find yourself forgetting things, unable to concentrate. Just, you know, you're working, but you're not achieving what you could achieve if you managed your life slightly differently. So what can we do about it? First one I think is a bit difficult. The first one always is set clear boundaries between work and play, or at least something else. If you're employed, you may be under a lot of pressure to work long hours, to be constantly available 24/7, you know, particularly when there's tight deadlines to be achieved. So there may be a lot of pressure. And it's often hard to buck the culture. You know, I can remember working in an office where you were never the first one to leave. You had to, you know, ideally you'd be the last one to leave. And certainly if your boss was still there, you wouldn't leave. Not because you needed to be there, but because that was just the culture. You know, you had to appear to be still working, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. So you are in less control if you're employed, but, you know, what is the point of working yourself to breakdown or death for you or even for the organisation that you're working for? So try to set some boundaries and try to have a time when you are totally switched off, both digitally and mentally, so that you can actually have a break. The simple thing is, the more hours you push yourself to work, the less efficient and effective you are, the less the quality of what you're doing is. So, you know, it's often demanded, but it's not terribly sensible. If you're self-employed, of course, there are other pressures to bring in the money, pressures to build the business or maintain the business. And you know, unless you set the boundaries, nobody else is. So it is important that you do set the boundaries. And I know some people running their own businesses who are very, very strict about when they stop work and under what circumstances they would work in the evening or over the weekends. And I think that is a valuable thing to do as much as you possibly can. So, you know, set some boundaries around allowing some space for recovery. Take breaks during the day, even if they're very short. Nice if you can get out for a 10-20 minute walk. If you can't do that, you know, take a 5-minute break when you go to get your coffee. Or even just stand up and have a good stretch, or even less time consuming, sit at your desk and take a few deep breaths. Something to just give that little break for your brain to have a chance to regroup before you get back down to work again. Alongside that is building some exercise into your life, which helps with boosting mood, reducing anxiety. It doesn't have to be hours at the gym or running marathons. You know, it can be a short walk, a yoga session, whatever. Just something where you're completely switching off. And eating well and staying hydrated is important. So if you're going to push your mind and your body to its limits, you need to make sure you are nurturing it and feeding it and giving it everything it needs in order to be able to do what you're asking it to do, particularly if it's a short burst thing. When we get down to what you're actually doing, effective time management is important. And this is one, you know, even today, I'm aware that some days could have been organised better, let's put it like that. It's important to prioritize. A tip that I find very useful, and I try to do every day now, is at the end of my working day, whenever that is, make sure that I have identified the most important things to do tomorrow. Ideally, never more than 3. If they're big, maybe less than. So there are 3 things off that very long to-do list, because it's always there and it just seems to keep growing and never getting any smaller. What 3 things do I need to take off that list tomorrow? Then if you get through those 3 things tomorrow, you've got a sense of achievement and satisfaction because you've done what you planned to do. And if you've got more time left, you can pick something else off the list. And if something interrupts you and has to be dealt with, you know why you didn't get those 3 things done. So it's more controlled than just getting to the end of the day and thinking, well, what did I achieve today? Because I seem to have, not actually achieved anything, although I've been working all day. And look at ways of managing it. There's lots of advice out there about how to prioritize and how to allocate blocks of time for specific things. And if you have anybody to do it to, delegate. In my corporate life, I found when I was managing people who were managing other people, one of the key learning, the skills they needed to learn when they first were promoted was, yes, you can do it better and you can do it quicker than the people who work for you. But if you go on doing that, you'll just have to go on doing it all yourself. You have to take time helping people to take on delegated tasks, but that way you free up your own life so that you are not, trying to do everything. There is this feeling that we're under pressure. I can do it quickly. If I ask Joe Blogs to do it, I've got to explain it. I've got to check it. There's no point, but I won't bother. I'll just do it. And you just keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. And that is a fast route to burnout. So delegating wherever you can. How can you, given you've done whatever you can and you're still working more than you should, what can you do to manage so that you don't get to that burnout state? Mindfulness and other relaxation techniques are excellent. So even though your off time is limited, you're maximizing the benefit from it. So meditation, breathing exercises, which I've already mentioned, can help calm your mind, doing yoga. But yeah, as I say, just stopping and taking a few deep breaths can bring your body down from the blur state it's in, and then you can restart whatever you're doing in a much calmer state and doing less damage to yourself mentally and physically. Sleep is crucial. We talked about that. Try to make that sacrosanct. You need at least 7.5 hours sleep a night. And it's not just for rest. Things actually happen when you're asleep. Your mind and your body are very busy when you're asleep. And, they're doing cell renewal and mental sorting out of what's happened during the day and laying down memories and all of this good stuff. And we should have 5 sleep cycles a night, and all of that stuff happens at the end of a sleep cycle. So if you never get to the end of a sleep cycle because you're waking a lot in the night, or if you don't have enough cycles, then your brain and your body aren't able to do what they should be doing in order to enable you to carry on doing what you're doing, choosing to do, or having to do. So sleep is crucial. Lots of advice about sleep. Don't work right up to sleep. Don't be online right up to sleep. Put the phone away an hour or so before you want to go to bed. Make your bedroom as quiet and peaceful and calm as possible. Keep televisions out of it. Keep things out of it. Read, listen to music. Do something that is going to calm you down, ready for sleep, rather than things that are going to keep you in work mode, even if they're apparently just, catching up with friends on social media. It's all like work, really, isn't it, if you're not careful. Making time to stay connected with people. Your family and friends will suffer if you're working long hours, but so will you as well. as I said before. So make sure you make an effort to keep in touch with people, have conversations with people, even if they're short, and be in the moment in those conversations, not, oh, I must talk to my wife or husband or partner or whoever because I haven't talked to them all day, but it's just, I've got to, this is another thing to tick off the list. Actually be in the moment so that you and they are getting some real benefit from the conversation, not just it's, as I say, another tick in the box. And, you know, don't work every day, every month, for a whole year or years. Take breaks from work. You know, if there's stuff going on and you can't afford 2 weeks off, then give yourself a day or two, or even just a weekend off. Give yourself some time right away from what you're having to do on a daily basis. So take breaks, as I say, even if it's a day off. You know, if you're, you know, call it a mental health day if you need to, because, I mean, it's not a joke. You know, if you keep doing what you're doing, if you are working long hours, not getting enough sleep, not mixing enough with, socialising enough with people, all the things I've talked about, you know, you are doing damage to your mental health and to your physical health. So you're shortening your life and. So do take every opportunity to take breaks from work. And last, and obviously for me, not by no means least, if you're struggling, seek professional help. Don't get to the burnout phase. Don't get to the breakdown phase. Seek some help before that so that you can learn some techniques to help you manage a stressful life rather than just exist in a stressful life. And as always, I'm very happy to talk to you about that, this very generic run through of the issues and possible solutions, and there aren't any easy solutions, but I'm very happy to talk to you about your particular circumstances and, if I possibly can, to help you with them. Okay, that's me for today. Thank you for listening, and I will see you again next week. Bye.